Welcome to How It Evolved, an analysis series that looks into how a classic anime was made anew for modern times. Today we'll be looking at Magical Circle Guru Guru. Originally debuting all the way back in 1994, let's see how the currently airing Summer 2017 reboot evolves the series. To truly get us started, we have to go back even further to 1992 when the manga of Magical Circle Guru Guru started publishing in Square Enix Monthly Shonen Gangan magazine. Hiroyuki Ito's love for JRPGs inspired the creation of this gag parody manga that often pokes fun at the genre's most classic tropes. It got popular enough to receive an anime adaptation 2 years into its printing with the 1994 series of the same name. This anime follows the manga very closely, which is probably the biggest difference that sets it apart from the 2017 series. The original does also include filler arcs that were not present in the manga, but everything else is extremely faithful. The new show takes the major plot points and cuts away a ton of the fat while attempting to still preserve the ethos of each scene. When it comes to pacing, to describe this new adaptation as breakneck would be very accurate, especially if you watch the original show. There are several reasons that might have contributed to this increase in density and velocity of the content. The existence of the 1994 series alleviates all pressures to one-to-one adapt the manga since that already exists. The pure advancements in animation techniques allows for a more flexibly comedic series than what you could have seen back in 1994. I mean, come on, this is being done by Production IG. The resources of talent alone that affords you is much greater than a 1990s Nippon animation would. The intent of this being a long-running kids show is also out of the window as anime continues to get shorter and shorter runtimes. You also have to take in consideration that the manga was not complete either, so the anime was careful not to eclipse it by moving slower and adding the aforementioned filler. But most of all, it's just a pure improvement. There are a lot of boring jokes cut completely out, a multitude of plot threads and running gags that found its way on the cutting room floor. We have a comically rich show now that only keeps what is funny or plays with the original joke to make it even better. What used to be a drawn-out introduction to the world, its villain, and the events leading up to his resurrection that went on for almost 5 minutes, is now an opening game text scroll that lasts 10 seconds. Surprisingly, it animates this opening scene with the posted sign from the king asking for heroes as if it were an old JRPG. Maybe there was worry that in 2017 kids wouldn't immediately get what the series was trying to parody from the outset. This is a surefire way of setting up what the point of the series is. The text moves by quick and is extremely concise. Just think Ganon and you have the plot. I mean, it is a parody, so the plot is purposely generic. Evil guy has escaped his 300-year seal and has flooded the world with monsters. Either way, the events do play out almost exactly the same as the original, just in fast forward. And with that introduction over, the anime begins, which is when the interesting stuff starts. There are 4 major ways Guru Guru has evolved for the new age. Concise comedy, consistent characterization, cut content, and condensed callbacks. Like this joke of the dad launching the son onto his adventure, literally by punching him in the face. The build-up involves the father giving Nikke his helmet he used when he was young. Then they talk about the damage it had endured and how Nikke was happy with it how it was. But the way he wears it angers his father and he blasts his son in the face and takes the helmet back. It's not too logically consistent and is a tenuous connection of looking like a gang boss, kind of, inciting the punch. Plus, there's a lot there that just doesn't matter to the joke, like how the helmet has lost defense points because of the damage it had taken, yada yada. The point of the scene is to add an exclamation point to the idea of how gung-ho Nikke's parents are about his heroic journey, and show how long they've planned for this moment. Well, in the new show, they break this joke down to its core, aka a more consistently paced punchline to an already erratic scene prior, and it's truly a comedic evolution worthy of praise. Instead of the father bringing out a helmet as evidence of this long-held desire of his, he instead brings out a giant slingshot he had prepared for the day of his son's departure. The concept of making a mechanism to literally launch your son onto his hero's journey is right in line with his overly selfish desire to live out his dream vicariously through him. And it also doesn't hinge on some shaky emotional response to a very odd gang reference. Nikke's stratospheric takeoff is now more analogous to the way his parents have raised him up until now. It's still something the father had planned, and it's way funnier picturing him building a giant slingshot in the backyard and hiding it away for years. Either way, this big launch is a perfect way to seamlessly transition Nikke into the next wacky scene, but the original drops him somewhere random, and we'll have to wait another 5 minutes till he meets Kukuri. The new show just puts him directly in Kukuri's room. This shot is not only more symbolically poignant, as they even use a more elegant version of it in the opening, Nikke being the one to break Kukuri out of her life of solitude, but also reflective of the massive change in the show's new presentation. Look, you need more proof? The old witch lady is going on about backstory, and our two leads literally don't care. Her monologue is background noise to what really is the focus: having fun with these two adorable kids. You better believe the original had the entire backstory uninterrupted with relevant visuals to go along with it. It's a loud and clear, we don't care about the story, we want to have fun, plus economically squeezing in a nice little bonding moment between our two leads. It mimics the actual response a kid would have to an old JRPG like this: speed past the dialogue so I can go kill stuff. There's so many examples of how this show cuts out extraneous things to better enhance the comedic timing, like when these text boxes pop up. The old show would read them out with the use of a narrator, but now it just pops up and leaves just as quickly. And so do our heroes as they head to the castle to hopefully be chosen by the king. If this were 1994, that would be the end of the episode, faithfully recreating the first chapter of the manga and adding a bit more explanation to the overall plot. It's 2017, baby, and things move quickly, as when we reach the castle, we're only 8 minutes into the first episode. Whereas the original anime covers chapter 1 of the manga in its first episode, here we cover chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and 4 all before credits roll. Clearly they are able to do this by cutting a lot of the content, but the content they cut is always a benefit to the characters. Often the consistent characterization is accomplished by cutting content that is either contradictory or does nothing but put them in a bad light. It rides the line so well. It's like, on the one hand, these are children acting childish, but also they're quite capable, where the original does not give that feeling. Nikke trying to escape the witch's house before meeting Kukuri is completely gone, the kids drawing graffiti all over the castle is thrown out, and Kukuri constantly interrupting the king for no reason is done away with. All these scenes make these characters harder to root for, mainly due to their incompetence. Nikke being a reluctant hero pervades almost every scene he is in, often showing him wanting to run away in fear. The new show gets rid of most of that, but keeps scenes of him leaving out of an apathy toward a situation, not a fear of it. One character hits the chopping block real hard in the new show, this guy named Gale. Originally a recurring gag character, constantly failing to be a hero due to sheer ineptitude, is now only used in this scene as a characterization moment for Nikke. Here he defeats Gale using the same move he used against his dad at the beginning to show Nikke has undergone training. That connection to the father was not present in the original, which is all the more impressive that not only is this reboot better crafting the comedy, but also giving attention to small details of character building that makes the show much richer all around. In short, Gale never shows up again, or at least as of yet. Again, the jokes that work are kept, especially those that highlight character traits worth keeping, but some are condensed to be viewed as callbacks to the old material, an aha moment for experienced viewers. Like, oh, so that's where they put that joke. That's how they changed it. Why I differentiate these as condensed callbacks is because they are jokes given very little time to be executed. As a new viewer, you don't really know what they're doing or completely miss it. They fly by so fast, part of the joke is how quickly they are moved through, as just part of the show having a million things going on every second. Now they are treated as little Easter eggs. The original would have spent its sweet time explaining every element and setting it up properly, giving each joke their own scene essentially. This equipping 800 Rin joke is no longer done on their walk to the city, as they rather squeeze it into the castle scene so they can directly go to the city the next cut. Nikke wanders off and is seduced into buying a bunch of crap he doesn't need, which is revealed as he is criticizing Kukuri for doing the same. We have this exact same premise, but how it is structured in the new show is widely different. In the old show, it gets revealed that Nikke bought a bunch of crap before the reason why he did was, and it's sort of hard to even get that reason. It's because of a pretty girl, but it's still a normal scene, it doesn't quite sell it enough. Not in the new one. Our fan service technology has improved tenfold since 1994, and they go all out to get that message across. Plus, they put this scene in front of the reveal. I think that works better as a joke, explaining why he would do something before he actually does it, instead of recalling back to it, making the reveal of his stupid outfit have more initial impact. It's the little things I love, like when Nikke fights his first monster, they still throw in the rock breaking bit, even in the new one. At the end of the first episode, you really get attached to these two as a couple, as a team, adventuring throughout this land. There are a ton of little genuine heartstring tugs throughout that I can't help but love. There are endless examples of how well crafted this remake is in preserving the core essence of Guru Guru while keeping it fresh and endlessly fun. Oftentimes, the original would drag, owing most of that to an over-ambitious parody idea that wouldn't work at all. The Saw Mountain arc is supposed to be playing off Zelda-type dungeons, having a bunch of rooms and puzzles and enemy traps. You see winks and nods to the jokes that work, but almost all of the dungeon plundering is ripped out because it doesn't make any sense, and isn't that funny? I get why it's there as it's playing with this dungeon concept, but not very well, as it's hard to represent that type of experience with this more realistic perspective. It was an ambitious satire that didn't work in the manga or the 1994 anime, and it's clear these new showmakers realize that and get straight to the battles as soon as possible. Nikke meets the fairy, saves the old man, heads to the boss room. Kukuri escapes her cell, then heads to the boss room. There aren't these entirely pointless rooms that exist for weird jokes or poorly thrown together puzzles. We get the gist of what is needed and move to the main event. For both shows, it's a fun, goofy, climactic battle with the boss reading off a script and sword fighting Nikke. They both have a fun spirit to them, the major difference being one takes place across episode 2 and 3, while the other is during episode 6 and 7. It's a pacing issue point blank that really takes a toll on the experience of watching the old show. It's even more evident when you watch the new show 23 years later. At the time of writing this, Guru Guru 2017 is at the same point in the story by episode 7 as the original had reached by episode 29. It's a show, while mostly random lighthearted fun, elicits a real sense of adventure, discovery, and childlike wonder. Plus, the romantic elements, especially in the new show, are characterized so well it is genuinely heartwarming. The 1994 series is impressively creative for the time, and I'm sure an incredibly enjoyable show for kids growing up back then. But Guru Guru 2017 is legitimately one of the best shows of the year, outclassing most of current anime. It becomes an even more satisfying viewing experience with the familiarity of the original series because of how much care was given to keep it pure. When things get rebooted and remade for the modern day, there's often worry that it will miss the point or water down the original elements that made the thing great in the first place. But this is not how it devolved. This is showcasing those special times when the old become new again in a triumphant way, and I can definitely say Magical Circle Guru Guru succeeds on every level. I wholly recommend this anime, and hopefully we can give this poor show more attention in the West, as it's one of the least popular shows this season despite its quality. Remember, if you liked the video, subscribe and share it wherever possible. It's a huge help, and thanks for watching.